Governor Greg Abbott has announced a second special legislative session here in the state, and we will get into the details of that right now. This is from his office. Governor Greg Abbott today issued a proclamation identifying 19 agenda items for a special session number 2 that begins at 12 p.m. Today, Friday, August 15th. Delinquent House Democrats ran away from their responsibility to pass crucial legislation to benefit the lives of Texans, said Governor Abbott. Because of their dereliction of duty, Texas families and communities impacted by the catastrophic 4th of July flooding have been delayed crucial resources for relief and recovery. Numerous other bills to cut property taxes, support human trafficking survivors, eliminate the STAR test, establish common sense THC regulations, and many others have all been brought to a halt because Democrats refuse to show up for work. We will not back down from this fight. That's why I'm calling them back today to finish the job. I will continue to use all necessary tools to ensure Texas delivers results for Texans. The agenda items include camp safety, legislation to ensure and enhance youth camp safety. I think that's very important. Flood warning systems, legislation to improve early warning systems and other preparedness infrastructure in flood-prone areas throughout Texas. Flood emergency communications, legislation to strengthen emergency communications and other response infrastructure in flood-prone areas throughout Texas. Relief funding for Hill Country floods, legislation to provide relief funding for response and recovery from the storms which began in early July 2025, including local match funding for jurisdictions eligible for FEMA public assistance. Natural disaster preparation and recovery, legislation to evaluate and streamline rules and regulations to speed preparedness and for and recovery from natural disasters. Eliminate STAR tests, legislation to eliminate the STAR test and replace it with effective tools and to assess student progress and ensure school district accountability. I remember it was the tax test when I was younger. I personally don't like that, having these tests. So I think this is good to replace it with something else because you could have good grades. At least that's how it worked in the past. You could have good grades in school. And you don't pass these tests, you don't walk. Seen it happen. Cut property taxes. Legislation reducing the property tax burden on Texans and legislation imposing spending limits on entities authorized to impose property taxes. That's it, speeding. There should be something done about the speeding here in the state on the highways. Protect children from THC. Legislation making it a crime to provide hemp-derived products to children under 21 years of age. This is a very controversial issue, and a lot of people didn't want to see a total THC ban. A lot of people just want regulations on it, which I think is smart. And the governor vetoed the bill that was passed by the Senate, which would have banned THC outright in the state. Regulate hemp. All right, I already got to that one. Protect unborn children. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't get to that one. Regulate hemp-derived products. Legislation to comprehensively regulate hemp-derived products, including limiting potency, restricting synthetically modified compounds, and establishing enforcement mechanisms, all without banning lawful hemp-derived products. Protect unborn children. Legislation further protecting unborn children and their mothers from harm of abortion. Ban taxpayer-funded lobbying. Legislation prohibiting taxpayer-funded lobbying, including the use of tax dollars to hire lobbyists and payment of tax dollars to associations that lobby the legislature. Protect human trafficking victims. Legislation similar to Senate Bill 1278 from the 89th legislature, regular session that protects victims from human trafficking from criminal liability for non-violent acts closely tied to their own victimization. Police personnel records. Legislation that protects law enforcement officers from public disclosure of unsubstantiated complaints of personal files. Protect women's spaces. Legislation protecting women's privacy in sex-segregated spaces. Attorney General election powers, legislation that strengthens the Attorney General's authority to investigate and prosecute state election crimes. Redistricting. This is the big one here. This is the big battle that's going on right now with Democrats fleeing the state, going to Illinois, these liberal states, and not coming to work, stalling this effort, but the Senate passed it. So Governor Abbott is going to continue to call these legislative sessions until they come back to work and get the job done. Title theft and deed fraud. Legislation similar to Senate Bill 648 from the 89th session that provides strengthened protections against title theft and deed fraud. These are all important things that could benefit the lives of Texans. Water project incentives. Legislation similar to Senate Bill 1253 from the 89th session that authorizes political subdivisions to reduce the impact fees for builders who include water conservation and efficiency measures. State Judicial Department. Legislation similar to Senate Bill 2878 from the 89th session relating to the operation and administration of the Judicial Department of state government. All right, so there you have it. Just wanted to give you a quick rundown of the agenda items listed on the second legislative session that began today at 12 p.m., Friday, August 15th. So the governor will continue to call these, like I said, until these things get taken care of. That's the power that he has. He can just keep calling and keep calling back. And, people have to get back to their lives. So this will get done one way or the other. Yeah, so I'll leave it right there. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you. Take care.